Hello, my friends in Mathland. We are here today to solve equations with fractions. People are usually a little freaked out by fractions, but I just have to tell you that I think fractions are your friends. They're always there for you. If you're ever having a bad day, write down some fractions, add them up, multiply them. They're always there, always nice. So here's my fun little fraction joke for the day. 3 out of 2 people have trouble with fractions. Think about it. It's funny. If you're not laughing, hopefully you'll laugh the next problem. Here we go. 1/3 x plus 1/2 equals 3/4. I'm going to solve this equation involving fractions. And just remember, whenever you're trying to solve an equation, you're trying to get this variable all by itself. So we're going to get all the fractions away from the x. So we're going to start by trying to get rid of this 1/2. To get rid of my 1/2, I'm going to subtract 1/2. When you subtract or add fractions, you need a common denominator. In this case, 1/2 minus 1/2, we get nothing. And we're left with 1/3 x. On the other side, we do not have a common denominator. Now, I know a lot of you probably know what 3/4 minus 1/2 is without a common denominator, and you are super smarty McSmart, and I'm proud of you. But for the rest of us, we're just going to get that common denominator real quick by multiplying top and bottom by 2. So we end up with 3/4 minus 2/4. Easy enough. 3 minus 2 gives me 1, and we're talking about fourths. And now we have 1/3 times x. Usually, when we have multiply by something, we divide. But the thing you have to remember is when you divide fractions, if you have 1/3 divided by 1/3, we change this divide to multiply by the reciprocal, or the flip, sometimes teachers say, of that fraction. So instead of writing all of that out, we're going to skip right to knowing that, hey, we are fraction masters. So we can go ahead and multiply by that reciprocal because we know our fraction operations. These 3's can divide out, so we end up with 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times x is x. And on the other side, we're going to multiply straight across as well. 1 times 3 is 3, and 4 times 1 is 4. So we end up with x equals 3/4. That is the solution to our equation. Let's see if we're correct by checking our work over here. I'm going to take my x as 3/4, and I'm going to fill that 3/4 in for x in my original equation. I get 1/3 times 3/4 plus 1/2. That looks like fraction frenzy. So fun. We're going to multiply first. 1/3 times 3/4. 1 times 3 is 3, and 3 times 4 is 12. Now that is not in lowest terms because I can divide top and bottom both by 3. Which will give me a 1/4. So I have 1/4 plus 1/2. Again, we're adding, so we should have a common denominator. Again, I know some of you could probably add that without the common denominator, but we'll do it just for fun. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So you end up with 1/4 plus 2/4. 1/4 plus 2/4 gives me 3/4. Let's look back to our original equation. It has a equals 3/4. Our check gave us 3/4. What does that tell us? That tells us super rock star. Our equation is correct. Let's try another one. Huh? Are you laughing yet at my funny joke? 3 out of 2 people have trouble with fractions. 3 out of 2. Come on, people. Here we go. Let's try this one. -1 minus 1/8 t equals -4/5. We have to get t this time, or t the turtle, all by itself. So we have this -1 hanging out here. We got to get rid of that. So we're going to add 1 to each side. That's going to cancel. Now I can change my 1 because I'm trying to do -4/5 plus the 1. I can change it into fifths. And you might remember from your previous fraction work that any whole number 1 can be changed to 5/5, 6/6, anything like that. If you have a 1, it's the same number on the top and the bottom. So now we're going to go ahead and do our addition. -4 plus 5 gives me 1, and we're talking about fifths. And over here we still have -1/8 t. So we have multiply by -1/8. If I want to get rid of it, I'm going to divide, or in fraction line, that means multiply by the reciprocal. It's still got to stay negative, so I'm going to do that also on the other side. Negative 8 over 1 times negative 1/8 gives me 1, so I'm left with my t. And then I multiply straight across. 1 times negative 8 is negative 8. And 5 times 1 gives me 5. So I end up with negative 8/5, which is the same as negative 1 3/5. So my solution to my equation is that t equals negative 1 3. Oh, look at there. I put 3/4, but it should be 3/5. There we go. Let's check our work over here. I'm going to fill in my negative 1 3/5 for my t in my equation. Let's erase a little bit so that we have a little more room. Okay. I think we're set. So we get negative 1 minus 1/8 times. Now I can put it in as an improper fraction or as a mixed number, but it's probably easier to use the improper fraction form. And since I already have that, I'm just going to fill in my negative 8/5 instead. Okay, I have to do my multiplication first. I have an 8 on the top and an 8 on the bottom. Woo! That means that I can divide out an 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Negative 8 divided by 8 is negative 1. Now I multiply straight across. 1 times negative 1, negative 1. 1 times 5 is 5. So I get negative 1 minus a negative 1/5. I'm going to stop, chop, chop on that. So I have a negative 1 plus 1/5. Remember, ones I can change to having the same numerator and the same denominator. It works with a negative as well. So I'm going to get negative 5 over 5 plus 1/5. Negative 5 plus 1 gives me a negative 4/5. Check it out, negative 4/5, negative 4/5. I told you fractions were your friends. Negative 1 3/5 is absolutely the solution to your equation. Rock it out. Great work.